Hello, everybody. My name is Tom Spate. I produce and chair these calls for the Cumbria Arts and Culture Network. On this call, who also work for the Cumbria Arts and Culture Network are Kate, Iona, Naomi, and Chris. So we're mob-handed this morning. It's not always like this. And the point of these calls is just to find out what's going on in the county, find out interesting stuff, people doing interesting things, maybe have a chat about what's going on. I guess what we're here to do is very much to champion the sector and advocate on behalf of the sector. So yesterday, for example, Kate, where were you? And I was there as well yesterday, advocating on behalf of the sector.
Yesterday we went to Lakes College, West Cumbria in Lily Hall, which is the FE College for West Cumbria, and we were there as part of the Festival of Work, which is kind of fronted by Josh McAllister MP. And we went with our See It to Be It hats on, not literally, although it might have been a good idea, to fly the flag for creative careers, which is all part of the See It to Be It project and our aim to enable more young Cumbrians to pursue creative careers. And it was a day where there were 1,200 year nines and tens.
Wow.
Which felt like quite a lot of people. And we were there with our stall. And if you've ever done this kind of thing in the past, especially in West Cumbria, where the nuclear industry massively dominates, it's a little bit of a thankless task, or I thought it was going to be. In the end, actually, we had a fantastic day, and it's largely because Tom decided to bring his ukulele. And in the end, we had year nines and tens dancing in the aisles to stereophonics, which I really didn't expect, but it was great fun, and it just shows how actually, young people that age who you think are going to be very sort of reserved and not engage, completely not the case, and we had a really good time and managed to literally bang the drum for creative careers. It was great.
Otherwise, it's a battle of the pop-up banner and the box of sweets. And various nuclear organised. There must be about a zillion nuclear kind of contractors in Cumbria doing various different things. How that place makes it all work, who knows? But anyway, yeah. So a bit of colour, a bit of difference. That was good, and there was a nice Queen van there as well. I thought it was very, very well thought through by Lakes College. There was a very nice Mr. Whippy van there too.
Yeah, and I
Just
even had chicken nugget and chips for lunch, which felt like a win as well.
Anyway, so that's what we were doing, and that's partly what this call is about and what this organisation is about as well. So you're all part of that shouting for the creative arts. So this morning we record these calls so you can watch them again on YouTube the following week, and quite a few people do that. This week we're going to hear from Hannah Catterall there at Wordsworth Grasmere events officer, and May Davis, who's there in Galway. May is in Galway, everybody, where it is beautiful at the moment. She's just about to show off another film. May's got many strings to her bow, I suspect. I don't really know May very well, but she's got a film premiere in Galway this evening. And having come, where were you before, May? Where have you come from to get to Galway?
Karlovy Vary in the Czech Republic. So it's the same film. It's just premiering at two different festivals back to back. So a few of us from the team have been chasing it around Europe.
Well, worse things to do. So May was involved in designing the exhibition that we're going to hear about at Wordsworth Grasmere, which is called Gothic, which sounds fantastic. So we're going to hear about that. Sue is going to reflect on the Lakeland Book of the Year Awards, which took place this week at the George Hotel in Penrith, which is obviously always a nice cultural event that takes place in Cumbria. We're going to hear from Naomi, who's going to talk about a really interesting app called Eric, which you're going to want to know about. And Naomi's going to talk us through that. And then we're also going to hear from Francis and Jill there just outside Kendal, who are setting up a new festival of books in Kendal in the autumn. And we're going to hear about that and what the plans are for that. So that is the plan for this morning. Just to reflect on the Town of Culture bids that Cumbria got nowhere with. We had 8 different towns. I don't know if you saw this in the news yesterday, I think it was. Barrow, Ulverston, Kendal, Kirkby Lonsdale, Appleby, Penrith, Maryport and Workington were 8 of 398 towns that bid for the Town of Culture. I know the Kendal bid in particular I thought sounded really strong. But anyway, we didn't get anywhere. So who knows where the Town of Culture is going to go to, but it's amazing. I think there's 3 different categories for the size of town. Amazing that 398 towns applied for the Town of Culture. I think it's a really good initiative personally, and I'm sure actually, no matter how deep those bids have been, stuff will come out of that, and connections will have come out of those conversations. So that's a kind of nice spin-off from the bids. But anyway, if you were involved in any of those, I'm sorry that you didn't get any further. Francis.
Yeah, just to say, one of the towns that has been chosen in the shortlist is Birkenhead, which is where I'm originally from. So I was well pleased, even though Kendal didn't get it.
All right. Well done, Birkenhead. Well done, Birkenhead. All right. So that is the plan for this morning. Let's start. So let's go to Wordsworth Grasmere and to Hannah, who's got a few slides that we're going to pick up as well. And also May's going to join the conversation from that lovely part of Western Ireland called Galway as well. And by the way, if anyone knows any Norwegian, I'd like to get a Norwegian word on the call by the end of the hour so that we can all prepare ourselves for the football. Anyway, over to you, Hannah. Tell us a bit about what you're doing in Wordsworth Grasmere.
So our new exhibition, Ghost Story into the Gothic Imagination, opened this Tuesday, actually, and it's running for nearly a year. I think, what you probably won't know is that at Wordsworth Grasmere, we have a library and archive with about 68,000 books, objects, manuscripts, pieces of fine art, mainly from the Romantic era, which is from sort of the 17 to late 1800s. But we also have a huge collection of Gothic literature. So they're 2 genres that run in parallel. And I think, you'll probably be familiar with Romanticism and Wordsworth at this point. And it's a genre that's very much about landscape and strong emotion. And the Gothic is kind of that, but turned up to 11. So the Gothic genre started in about 1764 with this completely bonkers book called Castle of Otranto, which has a ghostly skull that basketball bounces, squashing people to death. And apparently this inspired a whole generation of writers to start penning their own Gothic tales. So in this exhibition, what we've done is we looked for a sort of really pivotal moment in the history of Gothic literature. And we think that was in 1816, which was called the Year Without a Summer, because the previous year there'd been a huge volcanic eruption in Indonesia that covered the globe with basically a kind of ash cloud. And so Europe was in darkness, semi-darkness for nearly a year. We experienced extreme weather events, famine, plague. And so it was in the Year Without a Summer when Mary Shelley and Lord Byron and their circle of friends gathered in the Villa Diodati in Switzerland. And they mostly stayed indoors because the weather was that terrible and that terrifying. But one night, Lord Byron challenged the group to a ghost story competition, and they all had to come up with something suitably spooky. And Mary Shelley came up with the idea that became Frankenstein. And so we were really inspired by this moment. And so this exhibition brings to life that moment in Mary Shelley's literary life, that moment where she has the dream, the waking nightmare that inspires Frankenstein. And it also looks at the Gothic work that came before her, the Gothic work that came out of that ghost story competition, and the Gothic works that were inspired by those 1816 stories as well. So in this exhibition, we were really keen that we weren't just showing our collection of kind of really beautiful Gothic first editions and artworks, because I think, we all know that you can have the most amazing objects in the world, and if you just walk into a plain white room with some plaques on the wall, it's not very exciting. And so what we decided to do is we wanted to create this very immersive exhibition. So for a visitor, it's like stepping into a Gothic tale and experiencing that in some way at the same time as seeing some of these Gothic works and learning about the kind of the themes, the cast of characters, the history of it. And so we decided that we would commission an artist, and we put out the call, a national call, to try and find an artist who might be the one to design the exhibition. And we were lucky enough that May Davis was one of the people who applied and sent us the most fantastic set of ideas for how she'd bring the Gothic to life in this room. So, May, I was wondering, maybe you could tell us a bit about your design concept. I've put a few pictures on the slides. This first slide shows some of the collections items, and then I have a few slides showing the exhibition itself and May working on it as well. So you can see here the third edition of Frankenstein and a manuscript, and then on this slide here you can see May starting to install, or rather kind of bring to life her vision in the creative space.
Yeah. So just a little short background on me. I know some people on this call. It's nice to see some familiar faces. But I grew up in Kendal, and after I did a fine art degree and then came back, lived in Ulverston for until about 2016, and I worked at Signal Films in Barrow. So I'm quite familiar with the Barrow and Kendal and Ulverston art scene. Would have joined many calls like this in the past as well. But then since the last 10 years, I've been based in London and I live in Margate now. And I'm a freelance production designer and art director for film and TV. But yeah, because freelance life, we have gaps in between projects. And I saw this opportunity. And also my mum was the curator of Kendal Museum for most of the time I've known her. So I kind of grew up in museums and it's always been a familiar space and something I would like to work in more. So it seemed like a perfect opportunity, and I loved the sort of themes in the call out, and the proposal was very thorough as well, actually. It was really refreshing, it was very clear what the Wordsworth wanted. So I didn't know the space particularly, but I could see pictures of it. And my initial thought was to kind of separate the space into zones, even though it's quite a small room, and kind of bring an atmosphere, which is essentially what a production designer does for a film. It's kind of creating atmospheres in spaces. It's a bit of a new challenge that it's up for a year, because normally with films and TV it's very temporary. So I think that it was, it's always from the objects that the inspiration came, and it seemed to me that they split quite nicely into three sort of groups. There was the Frankenstein first edition that kind of lends itself to the idea of Mary Shelley's bedroom, and then the vampire and the Christabel things felt a bit more kind of woodland, and then the Rime of the Ancient Mariner felt like it needed something different, a kind of nautical sailing world. And that seemed to fit like a nice kind of through thread for visitors. And then it's a case of, I was just very aware that the audience have to walk around in the room. There has to be objects in cases. It's a balance of kind of bringing atmosphere but not filling the space too much. And then looking at materials. So my initial sort of designs have not changed that much, actually. But one thing that did evolve is there was a few sort of, I wanted to bring in some kind of structures to break up the space. And normally I'd think about using timber and carpentry, but there's this really interesting company in Manchester called Vector Sets who make scenery pieces out of cardboard. And it's something I've always wanted to try, and it kind of fits nicely with ideas of sustainability. And I think for this exhibition, it was ideal moment because the material itself is paper. So it kind of evolved the idea to be like the pages of the book exploded into the room. So the kind of everything in the room is monotone, sort of blacks and creams. And then the walls are painted the colours of book covers. So there's the deep reds and then the green and then the blue for the sea. And also there's this lovely art piece from Hannah Fox, who I've known but never worked with closely before. So that was a lovely opportunity as well. And she's created one of her shadow sculptures. So that was really nice because we could collaborate on where that went. And then I've kind of brought the tree, vine, woodland bit to sort of surround her artwork. So that was a really successful part of the project, I think. It was nice to work together to do that. But yeah, so it was quite clear, and it hasn't evolved much apart from these cardboard structures, which I think are really impressed with. And I think it's nice I've kind of deliberately kept them so you can see the edges of the cardboard, so you know that it is cardboard. I think it's a nice way to use the material. But yeah, it's been good. It's been fun. Getting everything installed in two kind of visits and it's been lovely to kind of come and work in Cumbria again. Nice excuse to come home for a bit.
I think on the next kind of 3 slides I've given you, so here you can see a preview of some of the zones May's been speaking about. So this is Mary Shelley's bedroom here.
Yeah, and also I guess we didn't want to make it realistic, it wasn't like we wanted to kind of recreate the bedroom at the villa. So it's more an impression of the nightmare, really. It's kind of, which is more kind of in keeping with the types of design that I like to do. It's sort of immersing people in the emotion of it rather than the reality of it. So that's this section, the woodland. So yeah, we've got organic materials, which has been an interesting journey to work with the museum, because obviously you have to be very careful with the objects. So we've had to, well, the organic bits have been like freeze dried, so they're pest free and then treated for flammability. But that's something, I mean, it's, yeah, sometimes we have to think about pests in stately homes and stuff when we're dressing, but it's such a big part of museum installation. But it was really lovely. We knew it'd be a challenge, but it was lovely to be able to bring in the organic vines because they just are so atmospheric. And then the boat is another really lovely piece that Vector Sets made. So it's the same process as carpentry. You kind of draw it in technical drawing and model it and then send it to them and they fabricate it. And then we've kind of done a bit of a sales installation.
Looks really sumptuous. And Hannah, what's the thinking behind why this is an appropriate and, for a year, for something for Wordsworth Grasmere to do?
I think partly it's part of our collection that we haven't really explored for a long time. Partly, I think the Gothic is experiencing this huge pop culture resurgence at the moment. I don't know if anyone's been unlucky enough to see the new Wuthering Heights, but we know there's kind of the Wuthering Heights adaptations, the Frankenstein adaptation. It's sort of back in the public imagination, and I think kind of like science fiction, the Gothic is also a great genre that can be used to explore the kind of the concerns of the present day. Gothic's always been very flexible. In the 1700s, it was sort of a channel to explore religious persecution and kind of political upheaval and the revolution. And then in the 1800s, it was exploring, industrialization, colonialism, sexism. And, Gothic in the modern day, we're starting again to explore those themes of race, gender, sexuality, politics too. So it felt very timely in that way. And I think, when I say it's experienced pop culture resurgence, I think obviously that's important to us as a charity, as an organisation that does need to bring in income as well to survive and do everything else we do in the community too. So we're hoping it will be really, really positive in terms of picking up footfall and visitors and kind of spreading the word about what we do. It's a bit unusual for us in a way.
Yeah, and who's the target audience for it?
We're so obviously we have a very regular kind of summer audience of holiday makers, as you know. I think we're very keen to connect with Cumbrians that don't usually tend to visit us and folk around the northwest as well. We know that Wordsworth perhaps isn't for everyone. But what we found when we were experimenting a bit with the Gothic last year was we were getting a far sort of broader audience base than we normally do, especially people traveling, deciding that they will come, 50 miles to come to this thing, whereas they might not have before. And if we can bring in that younger audience as well, that's always it's going to be a plus. That's why we have this tie-in events program too.
Yeah.
That will run the whole year and just sort of aims to give kind of deep dives into some of the works and themes that are in the exhibition and kind of make those pop culture connections as well in a way that's quite relevant but quite playful as well.
Sue, tell us about John Stagg's The Vampire, 1810.
Is this in the legendary romantic tales book, Sue?
Yeah, Cumbrian Minstrel. I wrote to Michael about it a couple of weeks ago, hoping that it would be included.
So it was on the long list. It was on the long list. The list got steadily shorter to the point where on the very last day, we had to cut a couple of things that we just couldn't fit in the cases. So we do have it. And I think it would be great to look at that work in some way, because obviously it is an important kind of Cumbrian folkloric work.
The first standalone poem on a vampire in the English language. That's why it's important. Yeah.
I wonder whether in all the outline activities going on over the year, there's a place for the vampire.
There should be a place for it, especially as we start to come in to look at vampires next
year. We even sang it in Wicton this summer.
Good knowledge, Sue. Very good knowledge.
Yeah,
I think. Kate, you've been to this exhibition. I think you went for the opening night a couple of days ago. And how was it for you?
I thought it was really theatrical, really interesting. Great to see some jewels of the Wordsworth collection, actually, that you don't normally get a chance to see. And I think it has quite broad appeal for that reason, really. I was fascinated by the second edition Jane Eyre, which is just kind of a bit mind-blowing, really, when you stop and look at it and think about what you're actually seeing. I thought it was very atmospheric, so I think the team have done exactly what they set out to do. I particularly like the creaky electric door when you go in, and I really would encourage you not to oil that, because it's brilliant.
We've been debating that as well, should we just not?
No, don't. So yeah, I'd really recommend a look. I mean, it's not a big space, but there's loads to see, and you can spend quite a long time there just kind of absorbing the atmosphere.
It looks beautiful. Looks really beautiful as an exhibition.
We have our public launch event next Thursday night. For anyone that is interested, I think Iona kindly linked our sort of main exhibition page, and all the tie-in events are at the bottom. But we're having a sort of weather permitting. I mean, it'll be fine even if it rains. It'll be Gothic. A sort of Gothic garden party themed museum late. You can explore Duff Cottage, the exhibition. We have our Gothic poetry readers out in costume. We have activities, and you can borrow a costume and do your own little photo shoot, which I think is kind of the most important thing for a lot of people.
Very good. Sounds exciting. Well, congratulations, May and Hannah, on pulling all that together. And obviously it's a big commitment. It's a big investment for all that time as well. I hope it goes in the way that you want it to, and that you get the visitors through the door. It looks really, really interesting. And Iona's just putting a couple of links in there for various bits and bobs as well. Thank you, Iona. Great stuff. All right. Well, there is a bit of a literary theme to the call this week, because we're just going to touch upon the Lakeland Book of the Year, which I think one or two people here had a bit of a stake in as well. Sue, Alan, Sue, you were at the launch event, or rather the celebratory event. What are you holding up there, Sue?
Can you read it? It's a programme for the night.
Okay, great. Okay, tell us kind of the runners and riders, Sue. And I know that Sarah Hall won with Helm, didn't she?
Oh, she did, and we all thought she was going to. I don't think there was any doubt about that. It is a fabulous book. If you want to read it, I think it's out in paperback now as well. And she was there. It was in the upstairs function room at the George Hotel in Penrith, which is a lovely Georgian room. So it's quite atmospheric, and the windows were wide open because it was so hot. And then just as they started the event, after we'd finished milling about, the bells started from St Andrew's Church because they were having bell ringing practice. So it was a nice backdrop to the whole event. Yeah, the judges were Will Smith, who a lot of people will know here, who's Polly Atkins' partner, poet. She was taking photos.
Runs Sam Reed Books in Grasmere. Does regular reviews for the
and Bookends, Carlisle, Stephen, Lucy Matthews were there. They're the official sort of bookseller. And Will did a lovely piece on social media afterwards about how, you know, it's not a competition between the shops and this sort of thing. In a rural area like Cumbria, collaboration is all. I thought it was really nice. It was, you know, you've got to collaborate with other people. Fiona Armstrong was the judge, who's always been a judge, I think, and Karen Lloyd, environmental writer from Kendal. And it was brilliantly organised by Kathleen Jones, poet, and Kim Tillier did all the admin this year. And she was fab printmaker. She does cyanotype prints, but she's also part-time in Sam Reed's bookshop. And all the certificates for folk had lovely cyanotype edging. It's gorgeous. So there were 6 categories, as ever, and 3 books shortlisted in each category. The Bill Rawlinson Prize for Landscape and Tradition was won by my old mate Trevor Grahamslaw of Wigton. Oh, that's Sarah. Yes, these are some of the photos from it. That's Karen at the podium there. Sarah, I was chatting with her earlier. I said, oh, well, you're a shoo-in, aren't you, really? And she says, don't say that, don't say that. This is the 7th prize I've been shortlisted for, and I've not won any of the previous 6. So she was over the moon to win the Lakeland one. Vicky Robinson, larger than life as ever, helped start the prize with Hunter, and she advertised it. And we had a charity partner, Always Another Way, wonderful West Cumbrian mental health charity. So they sponsored. So Trevor Grahamslaw's Wigton and the Solway book, based on some Georgian letters, as it happens, won that category. The Latitude Publishers Prize for Illustration and Presentation went to Ian Jackson's lovely book Defined by Stones, about stone circles. He's a geologist, not an archaeologist, and I heard him speak at Tully not long ago, and he's got some really interesting ideas about where these stones came from. And the Bookends Prize changed its name this year. Lucy did that. I thought it was the Gwenda Matthews Memorial Prize.
I know she was a great friend of yours, Sue, Gwenda.
For people and business. And Alan Cleaver didn't win with Postal Paths. He was there. He said it was fine. He's won the overall thing before. It was a fantastic book, apparently. I'm going to get it. David Price, who's works at the Aviation Museum as a volunteer in Carlisle. How to build a Spitfire, because he built a scale model of one in his garden, and he's written quite humorously about it. And yeah, I've got to get it. It sounds amazing. The Wordsworth Prize for Literature and Poetry was won by our Penny Bradshaw from the University Cumbria with her A to Z of Beatrix Potter. Another fantastic book. And I was sitting next to Penny. Oh God, it was awful. We were like the naughty, giggly, loud girls at the front, but never mind. And the Zeffirelli Prize for Guides and Places was won by Ange Harker, which is Walking the King Charles III England Coastal Path Northwest. It's not a snappy title, but apparently it's an amazing path, and she's been helping develop it, so she's the person to write. And finally, the Gilpin Hotel Prize for Fiction was, as you know, won by Sarah Hall, but it was strong competition for, from example, Mike Craven, The Final Vow, another of his Washington Poe books. Mike wasn't there actually, but yeah, I'm so pleased for Sarah, because I think Helm's her best book, and she agrees.
She probably would say that, wouldn't she?
Well, she said it's been 20 odd years in the making. It's collected of things from here that, you know, it's been in the back of her mind and notes for 20 years.
Yeah, I have to read. I've heard her talk about it. I've not read it yet, but no, she knows how to write a book. That's for sure.
She does.
Sounds like a good event, and you know, I know Hunter Davis who's quite an elderly chap these days, isn't he? He kicked it all off.
He sent a message, yes, of course.
About 15. When was the first one, Sue? About 15 years
well,
ago?
This was the 42nd, so if you can do sums, you can work that out.
All right.
I can't.
You know, it's a great Cumbrian, you know, we're about Cumbria here. It's a great Cumbrian institution, the Lakeland.
Yeah. And it'll be in the south of the county, the awards next year.
Okay.
Possibly at Zeffirelli's, because they do sponsor a prize, and Dorothy was there who runs it.
Okay. And Phil, just mentioning there the
Phil was there.
The Coldier Press book that we featured on this call,
Yep.
Juliet Fossey's In Search of the Missing, it's a beautiful book of poetry with fantastic visuals in it as well, which Phil and the Coldier Press put together. So it's really good to have that recognised as well. Oh, the audio book of Helm is good as well, says Helen. That's interesting. Who reads it, Helen? Have you heard it? Is it Sarah reading it? You're just on mute there, Helen. It wouldn't be a good audio book.
No, it's an actor, and it's all different voices for the different characters.
Okay.
And it's dramatized almost. It's great. It's really gripping.
All right. Well, that's a different way of experiencing that.
Yeah, because it's set in different periods, so you come back to and fro, Neolithic times right to modern day, and these characters. It plays to Sarah's strengths as a short story writer, really. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Of course, that's what she does a lot of as well. And just to note that the Words by the Water dates are out for March next year. I think
Don't ask me for them. I haven't got them to hand.
No, so I think it's the second week of March. But anyway, if that's your thing, look out for those, because that'll start to build up a momentum in due course.
It will.
Sue, thank you for that journalistic report on that evening's entertainment. Sounds like a good evening. And well done to all the winners and runners up, and just good to get recognised on that. It's great that Cumbria's got a literary scene that has a book festival of its own, or book competition of its own, basically. Right, okay. Thank you, Sue. Let's cross now to Naomi. Naomi, who I suspect is in Ireby. Are you in Ireby, Naomi?
Yes, I am.
That beautiful village in the middle of North Cumbria, to the east of Cockermouth and to the west of... where would you say Ireby is to the west of, Naomi?
Everywhere else.
Everywhere. Coldbeck, kind of Coldbeck, west of Coldbeck. Anyway, it's a lovely little village with a nice community there as well. But we're talking about an app called Eric this morning, which has probably got nothing to do with anybody else in Ireby other than Naomi knows a bit about it. So Naomi, tell us why we need to know about an app called Eric.
So the Eric app is a creative careers app, which is aimed at young people, students and early careers professionals. So very much the See It To Be It age group. And it's about kind of demystifying the arts, providing information about podcasts that are out there, training opportunities, jobs, be that freelance or contracts, and it's got a whole range of stuff on there. And I'd been using it before I started working for CACN, and then when I started working, I thought, well, it's very much the same sort of things on there that we are providing or sharing information about. So I thought it'd be really good if we had a piece of the action. So yes, this is the Eric app. So we will be sharing things if we've got any training things. I've put information about the podcast on there, any meetups, and you can target certain demographics. So if they've got an opportunity which is specifically aimed at like sixth form age students or people under 30 or just people who are starting out, then those opportunities will be directed towards those people.
So would CACN pay a subscription to be part of the Eric app, Naomi?
No, so we are Eric app ambassadors, which means we don't pay, which is great. There are companies that can pay to put opportunities onto the app, but seen as the See It To Be It ethos is essentially the same as the ethos of the app, we are able to put on as many opportunities as we would like.
Okay, and just Kate, can I ask you, Naomi mentioned See It To Be It. For those of them people that don't know what See It To Be It is, what is it in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, the See It To Be It project is a partnership project brings together really wide range of cultural, education and skills organisations across Cumbria to work together to make it more possible for young Cumbrians to, first of all, understand and then pursue creative careers across the county.
Okay, so the Lakes College event yesterday, the Festival of Work, terrible phrase, Festival of Work, anyway, was part of the See It to Be It initiative, which of course is Arts Council funded, as well as a little bit of local authority funding as well behind it.
There are three sort of strands of work to the See It to Be It project. The first of which is to make sure that young people have access, know about the opportunities that do exist and are created. And so this ERIC app is all part of that, joining dots and making sure young people can find opportunities and information as they need them.
Okay, great stuff. Naomi, if I could just cross back to you, just moving the conversation on slightly, you are our second trainee producer at CACN. You joined, what, 2 or 3 months ago now. Tell us just, again, briefly, what have you been doing while you've joined CACN, and have you learnt anything?
Yes, I've definitely learnt stuff. I mean, the reason that I'd applied for this role in the first place is because it's very much a learning on the job sort of thing, which is the way I like to learn. So I've kind of been helping out generally with what's already been going on at CACN, talking to Chris about the meetups, Tom about the podcast, and Kate about schools visits. I've been working on a new strand of the podcast, which should be coming out in the autumn, where I'm talking to individual creatives in Cumbria about their practice, about their journey creatively, how they started doing what they're doing, and kind of the realities of being a creative in Cumbria. The first 6 episodes will be a ceramicist, 2 printmakers, a actor, a filmmaker, and a comedian, and I feel like I'm missing one because that's 5.
Leave us guessing for the 6th one.
And a mystery episode at the end.
And this is obviously targeted at an audience of people, again, perhaps slightly younger than behind the scenery, people that are starting off and trying to get a little bit of inspiration about how you get to where they've got to.
Yes, I mean, I learn a lot of the stuff I know about the creative industries through podcasts, which is why I wanted to kind of bring the conversations I'd had with people in Cumbria and share them.
Great. All right. Well, I know that is a recording program that's on the go at the moment. I think you've got 2 in the can already. So really looking forward to that. And we'll probably launch that somewhere in or around the big meet, which is the 23rd of September at Sunbeams. So we just asked to plan all that out as well. Thank you, Naomi. The ERIC app looks really interesting. I'm going to sort of navigate my way around it soon. And I think it can be very useful for us as a sort of one-stop shop, CACN as a one-stop shop of opportunities in Cumbria to use and get it out to the audience that we need to get it out to. Lovely stuff. Thanks, Naomi.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's just complete the sort of 4 themes for this morning, or the 4 subjects for this morning, by crossing to Kendal, to a former school in Kendal, I think Francis said it was. Francis and Jill are sitting there and they are going to tell us all about a new event that's taking place in Kendal later this year. So if I hand over the reins to you, Francis and Jill, and we'll get your slides up. Would you like to introduce yourselves first of all? You'll just have to come off mute first of all.
Unmuted.
Yes, go for it.
Okay, yeah, Francis Prenneville and Jill Clough, and we're talking today about trying to get a book festival going in Kendal. And I'm going to start with a brief history. It's last year Angela Joyce ran a book festival, a Kendal Book Festival. So that was the beginning of it, and it was oversubscribed and there wasn't much room. Iona, can we have the next slide? Great. And as you can see, it was a sort of crowded event. So we decided this year we formed a little committee to get it going this year in a larger space. Have we got the next slide? Great, thank you. And the next one. So yeah, this is this year, September. We are doing the Kendal Book Festival at the Parish Hall. And as you can see in the next slide, you can see that the space is much bigger. So we're going to be able to have, how many tables, Jill?
Maybe 40.
40, yeah. So we're looking for authors, poets, publishers to fill that space. You can book tables, and we're looking at a much bigger and more diverse program this year. So we're kind of expanding and hoping it will draw people in. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have guests, refreshment, of course. So it's a space and a chance for authors and writers to meet their public and to chat about writing. And people will be able to hire tables in that space. So that's the first part of it. And then the second part at the end of August, we'll do a bit of advertising for people to hopefully to go along and enjoy the day. Can we have the next slide, Iona? That's great. So there you can see the program for the day. And I'm going to ask Jill to talk a little bit about one of the main guests that we've got coming, Linda Anderson.
Well, thanks, Francis. First, I'll say a brief word about Tim Farron, who has got a really rattling good novel and in the making. I read the first draft and suggested he started 36,000 words in for the next one, second draft. So he's got another version and it's still not there, but he doesn't have much time. He has to write on the train or in his holidays, but he has a really good plot, a well-researched thriller. And so we asked him if he'd come and say a few words as a budding novelist, apart from anything else, because something he understands. We wanted to get something different. It was a book fair last year, and a lot of us are going to book fairs, selling our books around the county, but a festival is something bigger. And we wanted to put a poetry reading in the middle of it, or a reading from somebody established. I'm not just doctor, I'm doctor. My second doctorate was PhD creative writing, and Linda Anderson was one of my supervisors, along with Jackie Kay. Linda was brilliant. I'll just give you a bit of information about her.
Can we have the next slide, Iona? I think we've got a picture of her. There she is. Yeah.
She's the Emeritus Professor of English at Newcastle, and she founded the Newcastle Centre for the Literary Arts, the annual Newcastle Poetry Festival, and she's the chair of Blood Axe Books. And she's been writing poetry all the time that she's been lecturing, but she will have read an awful lot of people's creative writing in the making, because for the degree at Newcastle you have to do research, but you also have to produce a collection of poetry, a collection of short stories, screenplays, or a novel. And in my case, it was a novel. She was shortlisted for the Seamus Heaney First Collection Prize with her first collection, and this one, which is called Against Falling. I went to the launch in Liverpool, and she's a lovely person to talk to. So my hope is that people will come and listen to her read, but also that she'll stay around and answer some questions, because she's, considering how prestigious she is in her way, she's a very unpretentious, easy to talk to person. And one of the things she said about her writing is that poems are the result of other writing, and behind every poem are unfinished poems, false starts, different beginnings that go on existing as residues and traces within the finished poem. And I've spent a lot of time as a researcher and academic reading writers' diaries, drafts, and notebooks. And she loves the idea of a transitional space where the provisional is kept alive. One of the other things she says, which I think is really captivating, is often surprising to find out how differently people read. It can open up new spaces for you as a writer, and certainly reading and writing do not necessarily coincide. As a writer, you can't prescribe how people read, nor should you want to. So I do hope people will just come. It's free. You can just come and listen to Linda. for nothing and hear a lovely woman read some beautiful poetry. But also, we hope.
Okay, so yeah, just the next slide, Iona. I think we've got a copy of Linda's book there, and we're going to have a couple of workshops. If we go to the next slide, thanks. So I'm going to do a 2-hour workshop on generating text. Going to look at. I'm going to use a photograph from 1876 and get the participants to have a look at that and look at what they can see, what they think they can see, and also then use a role play. I'm going to go into role as one of the people in the photograph and get some interaction and questioning from the participants. And in that way, start to generate text that could lead in all sorts of different directions according to what the writers want to do for themselves. And also look at the writing and concept of writing and rewriting, that it's obviously the first draft is a first draft, and then we're working all the time on changing it and honing it down to what we feel satisfied with. As well as looking at the central question, the question that we ask ourselves that holds together a piece of writing. So what's the underlying question? And in terms of the Victorian photograph, we'd be looking at the power relationships between street children, Dr. Bernardo, for example, and those kinds of things that underlie what the kind of writing we produce if we look at a photograph from that time. Also, there'll be a workshop in the afternoon with Russell Holden of Pixel Publishing talking about self-publishing. Okay, and the next slide, that's Russ. And the next slide, there's the poster. And the next slide, is that it? That the final one? Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Yes, I think Russell's could be particularly helpful. He was at the Lakeland Book of the Year Awards too. I sat next to Sarah Hall. In fact, that was quite an interesting experience in fact, I was sitting there with 3 of the people who were on the shortlist this time. So the tension at the table was quite exciting. And a number of visits to the bar from certain people and absolutely nothing from others. I just went to keep up because Kathleen Jones was incredibly supportive to me last year when I was shortlisted. Russell's been helping them, and I know that the whole process of publishing your own work can be really demanding and frightening, actually. And I had an agent for my first book, and that fizzled out. And after that, I decided I was far too old to wait for an agent, or I needed to get on with it because this is my 3rd career. And I noticed that Linda says she must be 10 years younger than me easily, but she says that her career as a writer is as yet unfinished. And one of the things that Russell is great with is he's got a very practical approach, I think, and he uses means of publishing your books which are relatively cheap, like Ingram Spark and Book Vault. So people don't have to invest in huge sums in getting into print. They can spend their money with a good editor, and he will, and a good copy editor, proofreader. So he's the person. I think he'll be very good.
So I think one of the central themes of the whole festival will be dialogue. Dialogue between writers and publishers, dialogue between, authors and the audience, and also in the workshops, developing a dialogue around writing and what the process is about and the joy.
All right. Well, thank you very much for letting us. So 12th of September is the date of the event itself. Lots of spaces booked, and the reason you wanted to come on sort of so early in the cycle was just to put word out there that you're looking for people to come along and take some space and be part of the festival. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. To book tables, for publishers and whoever, writers, and also later on we'll be hopefully doing a session on getting people to come along and enjoy what we're offering.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, thank you very much, Francis and Jill, for that. And good luck with the planning for that. I know these things, you know, having had a part to play in Cockermouth Live again this year, these things take time.
Everybody just asked what text I'm wearing, and it's Alice in Wonderland.
That's what on your shirt, on your top.
Dress is Alice in Wonderland.
That's fantastic. In that case, I'm just going to have to show you my T-shirt, which is Spates Golden Middle Ale from New Zealand. If you've been to New Zealand, you've been to South Island, there is a brewery there called Spates. And when I went there, at the age of 18, with my rucksack on my back, I tried to claim it for my own, but they wouldn't have any of it. But they did give me a T-shirt to sort of try to get me to go away. Kate Parry, you've got your hand raised.
I have. I just wanted to say before, maybe you were going to mention it, because I'm going to beat you to it, that Tom hosted the Cumbria Tourism Awards on Wednesday night for the first time. And I wanted to let you know that he did a magnificent job. Quite a tough and rowdy crowd, but Tom did a really good job, and and we even got a mention. Cumbria Arts and Culture Network.
Oh yeah,
got a mention. So well done, Tom.
I had to go and buy a dinner suit and everything. The dinner suit that I got from Oxfam at the age of 19 for university, somehow it had shrunk, and I had to go and refresh the sizes. But then it was a grand affair, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. So yes, well done to those involved in that. Right. So can we just do a straw poll here? So part of the Cockermouth Live Festival was a big orchestra concert on the Sunday evening. This is the Cumbria Community Orchestra that only do one concert a year, and it's the Cockermouth Live concert. And it was scheduled for 7 o'clock on Sunday evening. And if you remember the football match, England against Mexico, which actually happened, well, it was delayed by an hour, so it actually happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. Do you remember there was some fracas about they're going to pull it forward by 6 hours because of thunderstorms? And it was due to kick off at 7 o'clock on Sunday evening. And they didn't realise, those people out at FIFA, that there was a community orchestra concert at the same time. So they changed their minds and put it back to the original time. I thought to myself, though, at the time, if there's an audience that's about 200 people, least likely to want to watch a football match, it might be the orchestra watching Cockermouth Community Orchestra. So on that sort of model, just stick your hand up if you are going to be watching England against Norway on Saturday night. So it's about, is that about half, would you say? I'd say it's about half, maybe slightly over half. So I'm always conscious. So I had a few football references in a little speech I had to make at this tourism thing about you judge the audience as to their interest in football. And you have to be really careful because a lot of people don't care about football. But does anyone speak Norwegian on this call?
I think, Tom, you need to also assume that some people don't care about England. So it might skew your football data slightly.
I know that all Scotland fans will be wanting England to win, clearly. Does anyone speak Norwegian?
I can say tusen takk, which means thank you very much. Very
good. Not sure that's a useful football, but if you're being polite as a football fan, that would be useful, Sue.
I know about 3 different colours in Norwegian because my brother went on a school trip to Norway years ago and had a Norwegian language CD-ROM, which dates it slightly. And they were lyseblå, which is light blue, grønn, which is green, and rosa, which is pink. So
there you go. To look those up again, Iona, or were they in your memory?
They're in my memory. It's like some sort of like vocal. I just remember I've got this like vocal stem of these 3 Norwegian colours, and still remember them. I should probably fact check them, but
it's impressive.
I'm pretty convinced they're correct.
Jonathan, gravadlax. Is that a rude word? I don't know. Are you there, Jonathan?
Do you not even know what gravadlax is?
I don't know. What is it?
Oh dear.
Pickled fish. Well,
it's sort of smoked salmon adjacent.
Okay. Well, I've looked one up, everybody, and I've looked up one which will be useful, and that is the Norwegian for get in is kom in. Kom in. So that could be a useful phrase. Again, anyone's watched any of the World Cup, you'll see at the end of the game that when Norway has won, they do that big sort of rowing thing with the drum. Have you seen that? Basically, one of them bangs a drum and the whole crowd and the players sit on the ground and they do this big sort of rowing motion. So who knows what they say when they do that. But anyway, good luck to those that that care about England against Norway on Saturday evening, 10 o'clock kickoff, I think it is. Next week, Amy Dargorn Craghill, it's very nice to have you with us.
Hello.
Did you sneak in after I'd started?
About 2 minutes late.
And what do you do, Amy?
I think I've met you before, but on here. But yeah, moving to Cumbria shortly.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yes, and you were just sort of checking out the territory. That's right. I remember.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to have you with us again.
No worries.
Next week we are going to hear about Junction 36 Art Fair, which is kicking off quite soon. We are going to hear about Cumberlandia with a bit of luck. Chris doesn't know this yet, but we're going to hear about Cumberlandia, which is a festival just outside Workington, which is the last weekend in July. I think I'm right in saying. And also a really interesting person that makes these. That does a thing called Fold, and this is just a lovely little PR bit of stuff for it. It's a meetup for people that are printmakers. Have I got that right, Naomi? And this is a lovely little foldy thing that they've done as a little bit of PR. Jill's waving at this. Just 2 seconds, Jill. Naomi, is that right? It's a meetup about printing?
No.
If anybody.
Yes, there's all sorts of
creatives.
Anybody. Okay, anybody can meet up. And there's one coming up. They've been in Penrith, Kendal, and Keswick, and there's one coming up in Cockermouth at the end of July. So we'll hear a bit about that. But it's a monthly gathering for creative conversation open to all. I've just read the back properly this time, so that should be good too. Neil's walked about 1,000 miles during this call. Don't know where Neil's been, but he's back to where he started from. But you've been on a tour of Ulverston, Neil?
Yes, I walked down to the gym, down to the swimming bath. So I'm just about to find the session.
Okay, it's amazing what happens during these calls. Really nice to see everybody. Thank you very much to all the people that have taken part on the call today as he strolls through his pieces of paper. That's Hannah, May, Sue, Naomi, Francis, and Jill. Lovely to have you with us this morning. Have a good weekend, everybody. It's going to be sunny everywhere, so I hope you have a nice one. And we'll talk about the football, maybe not next week. All right, see you soon.